let's talk to Jamal. Hey, Jamal, you are on the line with Promise and Alyssa.
Hello.
Hi, Jamal. Hey there. What do you want to talk to us about tonight?
Yeah, well, I have a question. I'd like to find out, why you believe that there is no evidence for a God.
I don't know that I would word it that way. There isn't evidence for a God. We're waiting on that. That's why we have this entire network. And so I don't believe things unless I have a good reason to, and I don't see any good reason to believe that there are any gods. So I don't hold any active beliefs in any gods. Alyssa, I don't know. I don't want to answer for you, but.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any substantial evidence either.
So what do you classify as evidence, if I may ask? I
don't know. I would have to be shown the evidence, something that would be convincing. If the claim is for an all-knowing, all-powerful God, then I have to assume that God is capable of providing that evidence and just doesn't want to, or else they would have.
Okay, so you don't think the universe is the evidence of that?
I don't.
No.
I think the universe is evidence of itself, and that's it.
But isn't the universe contingent?
Contingent on what?
Because the universe, as we observe, it began to exist.
We don't know that it began to exist, first of all. There's only a certain point that we know. And other than that, we don't know.
So what does the evidence entail then?
What does what?
About the universe existence.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
No, the existence of the universe. So far, the evidence shows it began at one point. It haven't always existed.
Nope, we don't have evidence of that. We don't know. We have evidence of a certain part. What we do have evidence for is that it's been expanding. We don't know anything other than that. That's one of the mysteries.
So what about the second law of thermodynamics?
What about it?
There's the Big Bang. There's mathematics. It shows that the universe isn't eternal and haven't always existed.
It doesn't show that because science does not. That's not the conclusion we've reached. We don't have a conclusion for if there even is a beginning of the universe. We do not know.
Okay, so let's say the universe is eternal, right? Let's say it has always existed. So let's say the universe is eternal and have always existed, right?
I'm sorry, I can't. Alyssa, do you know what he was saying?
Are you saying you're saying the universe has or has not always existed?
Let's say it has always existed, right?
I have no idea. I don't know where or if the universe came from anywhere. I don't know. We know a little bit up to a certain point, and then we don't know anything about before, if there was a before, anything like that. The answer is going to keep being, we don't know.
I think we know because there's only 4 logical explanations about how the universe came about.
How do you know that there's only 4? How do you know?
4 logical explanations.
First, let's get to this part. How do you know that there are only 4 options and not infinity amount of options?
No, I said 4 logical options.
How do you know that there's only 4 logical options? How have you ruled out infinity amount of other options?
Because I will name them for you, right? So the first one is that the universe came from
Jamal,
nothing.
I'd really like for you to answer my question. How did you reach the conclusion that there are only 4 options and not infinity amount of other options that you couldn't even think of?
Because there can't be, using logic, there can't be more than 4.
What logic did you use to reach the conclusion that there's only 4?
Well, can I explain the 4 to you?
If you can do it quickly.
Okay, so the first one is the universe came from nothing. That's the first one.
How would something come from nothing? Real quick, Jamal,
No,
I already disagree with this. How would something come from nothing?
You're not listening. I
am listening, and I just asked you a question.
But
cool. Well, then I'm just going to ask you this question. As soon as you say the 4, I'm going to go back to this question, but I'll give you time to think about it. All right. So the first one is the universe came from nothing. Next.
Yes. All right. The second one, the universe was created by something created.
Okay.
Something created the universe?
No, the universe was created by something else created. That's the second one.
Okay.
Okay.
You following? All right, the third one, the universe created itself. Okay, you following? The fourth one, the universe was created by something uncreated. So which out of those 4 is the most rational conclusion?
No. Which one is true out of those 4? If you have to pick one, because also I don't agree that these are the only options. I have no idea what the option is.
So can you name another option?
No, I just don't know what happened. I don't know where the universe came from, or if it came from anything. I don't know if this is a simulation, Jamal. I don't know if this is a simulation. I do not know. We don't know. We collectively, as a society, do not know where the universe came from. And so sitting here and saying, well, which one do I think, has no value to me.
This is not
I care what science tells us. I care what science tells us about where this universe came from, and that is the only thing that will get me to believe something, not somebody sitting here saying, well, to me it makes sense, somebody created it, and this is why.
This isn't a scientific question, though.
It's about truth.
One. So it transcends
for
science.
us.
So Jamal, what's wrong with the answer of I don't know? What's wrong with being honest and saying we do not know?
I can't accept that because you do know. That's the point. You do know.
I do not know, Jamal. I literally don't know. And if you're just going to call and accuse us of lying, then we don't even need to have a conversation. I genuinely do not know. And you don't know either.
So let's start with the first explanation. Can something come from nothing? Do you know that or no?
Can something come from nothing? Define nothing.
Nothing as in absolute nothingness, the absence of everything.
You can't use the word
complete absence
in the definition
everything.
For the word. How would you, complete absence of everything? Then how can you have something? Yeah. None of this is making sense, and it's circular reasoning.
No, I'm asking a question. If can something come from nothing? From absolute
I don't know.
Nothingness?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know, because if the universe did come from nothingness, how would I know?
It's logically impossible for something to come from nothing.
We don't really even understand what you mean by nothing.
I don't know about nothingness, and I don't. As soon as you start defining
everything.
Also, Jamal, I also am curious too, because here's the thing: like, why is it that when we have a situation that is so hard to explain, we use something that is a higher power until we have a better explanation? So for a period of time, there were many things that we described as being the work of a higher power, when in reality, now that we have the ability to explain, we have a better understanding. And so we can actually, like the sun coming up and going down every day could have been explained as a god making that happen. And now we know that the earth rotates and the sun also moves. And so because of the way that our planets interact with each other, we have days, we have daytime and we have nighttime and we have seasons. And now we understand. But before this,
I understand.
So when we're having this conversation about how the universe is created, I'm wondering why we can't have some curiosity around how this is one of the questions that is still a mystery for us. And it also is the thing that you're using to try and convince me that there is a higher power. We've seen this happen so many times over and over again, where many times when this happens, if we give it some time and we give it some science and some effort, at some point we do figure it out. So why can we not have the answer be, this is just something that we're not sure about yet, versus this is a higher power? Do you know what I'm saying?
Because science only studies the physical world. That's all science do. Science only answers the how questions.
Because that's all we know exists, Jamal. That's all we have evidence of existing are things that we can measure and test.
Okay,
the observable universe. It's that's all we can know is even a thing. That's the whole point.
So you're saying, so if something cannot be detected by science, it don't exist, right?
I do not know. But to me, it doesn't, because if science isn't detecting something, if it cannot detect it, then it has no relation to reality.
Okay, so do you believe dark matter exists?
Let me just ask you this real quick, Jamal, to save us all time. Is the God that you believe in, is that God detectable at all?
No, he's not detectable.
Okay, then I'm just genuinely not interested in this, because a God that is undetectable, then I can just tell you there's a pink unicorn that's invisible and undetectable, and that's my God. And what's your evidence against that?
What's my evidence against that?
Yes, what's your evidence against my pink, invisible, undetectable unicorn God?
Well, first...
And it says that your God doesn't exist, by the way, so...
Well, first, a pink unicorn is dependent.
Dependent on what?
It's a unicorn, and it's pink.
But it's invisible, and it's undetectable. And it says there are no other gods.
Well, the definition of God is to be independent, and a pink unicorn is dependent.
No. This one's a God. It's not dependent. It's not dependent on anything. It's invisible. It's undetectable. I just happen to know that it's pink and it's a unicorn because it told me that. But it's a God, and it's undetectable. And it is the only God. Any other God is a false claim, according to pink unicorn.
Is it still a pink unicorn?
It's a God, and it's kind of hard to explain. It's a mysterious thing.
No,
but
the definition
it's all of those
God
things.
Is to be independent.
It's a God. It is what it is. It exists, but it's undetectable and it's invisible. So how are you going to tell me that doesn't exist?
Okay. But isn't dark matter and your consciousness also undetectable and invisible?
I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I don't know anything about dark matter.
And again, just because something is unexplainable in my language, like I can't explain dark matter to you, does not mean that God exists.
No,
that's a huge jump.
I'm just interested in how you so easily dismissed my God claim.
Because it's not a God claim.
It is a God claim.
We don't arrive to God by just claiming anything.
That's what you're doing. That's my whole point.
That's not
you're
what
just
I'm
saying
doing.
that there's. So if it's undetectable, how did you detect this God?
You cannot detect God.
Then why are you believing it? What is your reason if it's not detectable?
The same way I believe consciousness and dark matter exist. We know they exist because of their effects.
I'm not sure
the
that
effect of God is the What?
What effects are you talking about?
Also, consciousness, I'm not sure that I need to look this up about the scientific term. I'm not sure that we say consciousness exists. We experience consciousness. It's a term we use to describe something that we're still learning a lot about.
Yeah, because you cannot put consciousness in a lab and run tests on it because it's immaterial.
Did you even hear anything I just said?
What you said?
I don't feel like you're listening to us, Jamal. I feel like you're going with some kind of script because you've just dismissed so many things I've said. I just said something else that was a point that was very relevant to what we're talking about here, and then you moved on to something else.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat what you said?
If you're not going to be listening, I'm not really interested in repeating myself anymore either. If Alyssa has more questions for you, she can go for it. I just don't feel like we're getting an honest conversation here.
Okay.
I mean, I think, Jamal, if you want to give one last point on why you believe that there is a God, even though we cannot detect it, and like why we should believe that there is one, though we can't detect it. One last plea, I suppose.
I believe there's a God because observing the universe and its characteristics points to there being a creator.
What about
not
it
just any creator? It points to being an independent
creator.
Simply because of the contingency argument. You ever heard of it?
Of the which argument? Contingency?
Contingency, yes.
Yep.
Okay, so
I'm
the
still
universe,
listening if you want to continue going.
Okay, so everything we observe in the universe is dependent.
On what?
And if you trace it back...
You're just starting with claims.
Okay, you want me to explain what dependent means?
I'm well aware of what it means. But Alyssa
Yeah, like I'm confused about what you mean that everything in the universe is dependent on what? Is it dependent on a higher power? Is that what you're saying? Or
no,
dependent on each other?
I'm saying the characteristics of the universe is dependent. Everything within it is dependent. So it's either dependent on something else. What you said?
What is your evidence that the universe is dependent on there being a creator? You're making this whole argument to me just sounds like a basic presupposition.
I'm not saying it's dependent on the creator. I'm just saying the universe is dependent. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's dependent on a creator or not. Let's take it one point at a time. Okay?
I don't really understand what you mean by dependent. I don't know, Eve, do you understand the way he's using dependent in a way that
it depends on something else with existence. So like you and me, you and I depend on
yes, we understand that. We're trying to understand how you're getting from that to a God.
Yeah, to a God claim. Like, because my life was created by my parents having sex and then my mother carrying me. Like, dependent, I guess, yeah, like, life doesn't
Forrest explained... Sorry, Alyssa, you keep going.
No, go ahead.
I just need to... I need you to get to your... Yeah, I need you to get to your next part because you've made your claims. Now what? Now, how did you get from that to God?
Okay, so if the universe is dependent, right? It could be dependent on something else.
Dependent on something else, it could be.
My claim.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It could be dependent on something else dependent. So let's say another universe created this universe. Okay?
Why are we saying that? We don't know. We have no idea.
Oh, God. Well, let's just say, all right, matter, right? Any piece of matter, let's say, created this universe, right?
I don't know. I don't know if what I do. No, I don't know. I have no idea how this universe came to exist.
What's the opposite of matter? Immaterial, right?
I don't know that there is an opposite. Jamal, you're continuing to just go through all these different things, and the answer is going to be every single time, I do not know where this universe came from, and neither do you. You are speculating, and that's fine. You can speculate all you want. I don't think you have good reason to reach a conclusion, which is why nobody's won a Nobel Peace Prize or whatever award they would win for discovering where the universe came from or if it even came from anywhere, because we do not know.
You're not understanding.
I'm
understanding your claim.
I would actually like to see, like, I don't know. I want to be like mindful of time, but I'm curious where you were going to go with that. Like the opposite. You're telling me the opposite of matter is antimatter, or what?
No. All right.
What's the opposite? What's the path that you were going to take us on? I'm curious. I want to hear where you were going with this.
Yeah. So matter, right? That's the only physical thing about this universe. So the opposite of matter is immaterial.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why I said, because I know you don't believe in the immaterial, so that's why I said matter is like the drawing line for everything. Material wise, you understand where I'm coming from?
I guess so. Keep going.
Okay, so
I do want to point out, just for anybody listening, that the opposite of matter is antimatter, not immaterial. But continue.
Okay. All right, so let's say the universe depends on something material again. Material is something that's dependent, right? So let's say it depends on something material if it's existence.
But Jamal, you're making claim after claim, and you're not providing evidence for any of this. You're saying, let's say this, let's say that. Okay, what does that tell us about reality? We can play mind games all day and say, what if, what if, what if? It gets us nowhere other than speculation. It's all of this is hinging on massive presuppositions. That's all I'm hearing each time is a presupposition. And you're saying, right? And no, I don't agree. I don't agree to each of your presuppositions.
You want me to prove that the universe is contingent?
You can't.
Oh, I can't.
Do you have evidence that the universe is contingent?
Okay, so let's define what contingent means, right?
Do you have evidence that the universe is contingent?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Firstly, the universe is made up of matter. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
This will go faster if you just present your arguments. Instead of pausing and saying, right, just say what it is that your claim is, and then we'll chime in.
Jamal, your phone is probably asleep.
You have to tap your screen. We might have lost him.
That's okay.
Jamal. Okay. Well, if Jamal wants to call back and talk to Forrest on the Sunday show, I think that would be a great idea, because I heard a lot of things said where I'm not even remotely close to being a scientist that I already know don't fit into that world. And I don't know what Jamal does for a living, but I would venture to say it's probably not related to that realm of science. But all of that was just a presupposition. Everything was dependent on, right? Like, it's this, right? It's this. No, right. I can't do any of this. We just don't know. That's my big frustration is, and the difference between that caller and these other callers is, and that caller is fine, but we have somebody calling in with a, like, it has to be this way and I'm going to show you, as opposed to a theist calling in like, this is what I think, this is what I believe, this is why. And then we have these excellent conversations because they can be honest and say, yeah, I don't even know if this is a good reason, or I think it's a good reason, but it's probably not a good reason for somebody else. That's the difference to me between somebody who really believes something because they believe it and somebody who believes something because it's part of this dogma that they have, and then they have to prove it to the point that they'll just make up precepts and stick to a script and get frustrated when they're told to get off of the script, you know?
Right.
Anyways,
right.
Sorry.
No, don't be. I think you voiced a lot of the things that people in the chat are feeling as well.
That's good. I feel like I would love the chat if I knew how to pay attention to chat while doing the show.
My ADHD makes me uniquely qualified for that. But the chat is also loving that Bonnie is snoring so much. So I'll show you guys where Bonnie is right now. Like, she looks so comfy.
Hey, come on, man. We gotta promote that clip we all just watched.
Well, I'd rather not shill.
Okay, well, Daddy has a $2,000 a month red oak habit, and I am your production god, and you will shill when I tell you to shill. Dance for me, baby.
Go, God damn it. Why did my life come to this? Go to patreon.com/call-the-line and donate. God damn it.
This is what happens when we let live chatters write our scripts.